Alright, so this week in the garden, not much has changed since last thing I posted. Things have started growing a bit more. Black cap raspberry, these ripen in July, maybe late June I think, I don't remember, but they're good through August. Tons of berries on there. Last year this didn't produce except for maybe a handful of clusters, but I pruned it and it's going to make a bunch this year. So much that I'm going to have to throw up my second trellis wire to keep it contained. My grape plants are just now breaking dormancy. You can see by the leaves. I should say grapevines rather. I need to prune this guy and train it properly. I threw some things in like chives in random places because you don't have to replant them. They do well here. Got some, I put some more strawberries in here, about 12 more plants. Got some buds. Normally from blossom to fruit isn't terribly long, so I'm excited about that. That I believe will be my first harvest. Got some echinacea coming up, and I guess I put strawberries there, but they don't seem to have made it. Some lupine. That lupine has grown, geez, probably quadrupled its size. I'll show you the stuff I just planted. So I got some lupine in here. Lupine is a nitrogen fixer. I took a picture of the nodules on the stuff I just planted. I'm working on a comfrey gill that's just in a random walkway area to increase my green manure here, and I'll show you here. I just finished it. It's not much to look at. It has a comfrey plant which grow fairly big. A couple of dock plants, broadleaf dock, which grow to be about 12 to 14 inches. I've got some strawberry plants in here. You see them are kind of buried by the straw. This one has a blossom. I put 4 strawberries in here, 8 dandelions. I put a lot of deep-rooted things. Excuse me. So 4 strawberries, 8 dandelions, 2 dock, a comfrey, and if you look at the lupine here, this is the size of that other lupine when I planted it. So it really likes where I put it. I put 3 lupine plants in here. And so I'm going to repeat this particular guild several places around this this straw field here. I put the straw down because I couldn't really get a good covering for my cover crop that I planted, and the birds were eating it, so I got some straw and threw it down. There's one of my cherry trees. Looks like it's finally doing better. The leaves are kind of perking up a little bit more. I might take it down to just the stumps here, but I don't really have any growth on them right now. I need to wait for some of the buds to come back off. I kind of did the wrong thing for that. If we look down these rows here, they are still doing about the same. The honeyberry starting to grow more leaves already. This guy right here I was worried about. I cut it way back. It is a Zabergau Rainette apple, and see if we can these leaves will pop eventually. I think that blossom will, but I had to cut it way back because the leaves dried out for whatever reason. This guy, it's cherry cox. Leaves are coming up. Let's move quickly through here. Nothing really interesting here. I put some Egyptian walking onion in random places as well, mostly in the plastic and some area behind where I'm coming now, or behind me. Oh, look at all the stuff coming through. That saddens me. I hate that stuff. I believe it's related to strawberry because it has very similar roots, somewhat similar leaves, but it's much more, it's much hardier. It has yellow flowers. It is called buttercup. Poisonous. Not many things eat it to my knowledge. This is where I am. Got some blossoms here on my cherry tree. Let me show you my neighbor's 2 cherry trees that are giant. They're probably 20 feet tall, 30 feet tall, compared to my, I guess, 15 feet, which I'm going to trim. But these guys here is 5 feet, maybe. I hand pollinated them. I hand pollinated this guy too, quite a bit of them. Hand pollinated the ones that were open there. My plum trees finally have some blossoms, and if you look at the size of the trunk here. That's reasonable. These were the biggest trees in this particular area for a while. Oh, I put a clematis here. It's finally out of hibernation because these pear trees were the most vigorous I had, so I figured put a clematis in there, maybe it'll suck some of its vigor. And it's not doing anything else for me besides taking up space right now. But I like these blossoms, like it's really nice red pollen sacs here. Just really neat. So I think the other one might be like that too, but I mean, if you look, there's only a handful of blossoms on this whole tree. So, which is sad. But I've got my apples coming up. If we come here, I hand pollinated some on this tree. If you look, I took off some of the flowers there so I could get to the stamens. And the stamens in there. And I pollinated as much of this guy as I could with some other flowers that I had from some of my really small trees that I just picked up. And it's loaded with blossoms. This will produce a ton of fruit this year. And these guys, hopefully all of them will. All of them are loaded with blossoms. Last year was kind of a bust, but this year I'll make sure to pollinate a good portion of them. Even the Cox's Orange Pippin is loaded with blossoms, so it should be a good year for that. Big enough tree now that it should at least produce a decent crop. And come down here. Let's see. Here's some plum rootstock that I had from an ornamental plum that I just picked up, put everywhere. There's a couple of stuff there. There's a bunch of dirt here because when I was clearing that, I was removing some of the material from that hillside because there was just too much for what needs to be there for the drainage ditch, and so I put some over here. I should have probably done about 5 times as much as what I did, but I didn't. So we got this cherry tree. Again, hand pollinated these blossoms. I don't remember what it is, but it doesn't really matter. Once again, my peach trees have leaf curl, so I've been spraying them with Bordeaux mixture, which is lime and copper, and it seems to do fairly well. It saved the trees last year. I thought I did it early enough this year, but I did not. Look at this. These are cranberries, and look at those blossoms on them already. Oh yeah, there's some other things I wanted to see too. This is the first year I will have some, hopefully, some aronia berries. I think these are only 3 years old. Look at those guys. That is nice. Got a couple of these guys that are that have blossomed like that. Let's walk over. Where should we go? Here we go. Look at this. This is something I haven't had blossom yet here. So, got a sea buckthorn growing right here. Doing fairly well. Should double or triple in size this year. Survived that area, survived other things. I got slugs. Slugs have come out. We had a hot few days, and so they went to hiding, and now we've had rain again. Here we go. I think this is some kind of maybe sand plum, beach plum, or cherry. It might be a cherry. It looks at the bottom there. Looks like a cherry. I got it from Oikos. Cannot find the order for the life of me. They're about 10 years old, maybe 9 years old. Not doing so well in any of the areas I planted them. Because this is a cranberry from the same order. And this is supposed to be a tree or a bigger bush anyways, and it's being outclassed by a lowly cranberry. Let's see. Here's another black cap raspberry. Doing great. Same thing as the other one. This was growing wild here. I cut it back And I kind of headed it there. So we have a compact plant. And then all the side shoots it puts out. Next year this whole cane will die at the end of the year. And I'll let this one that's coming up grow this year. And I'll cut out the dead one next year. But yeah, I'm gonna have tons of these. I like these. They're early. They produce a decent amount. They're have a good flavor. Let's come here. So I managed to cover up a lot of my cardboard now, finally, with some straw, so it doesn't look quite so garbage like here. So, unfortunately, it wasn't the cheapest straw. But it came with free corn. Some rats had apparently packed some corn into it, which is why it was being sold. Okay, so here's one of my peaches that is getting leaf curled. Not so much. I guess this one hasn't come out of hibernation so much, but leaves are still a little bit smaller than I would like. You can see my comfrey. My comfrey is ready to be cut already. That's doing great here. I have no idea what this guy is, by the way. No idea whatsoever. Tree of some kind. I probably planted it there, but I don't know what it is. So, looks like it's been cut a couple times. Comfrey, there's an alder. That thing needs to be topped again. Its side shoots are growing up great. You can see where I topped it the first time. I topped all of those limbs too, but the side ones are just coming up pretty big too, and they cast a pretty good amount of shade, so maybe I'll just cut off some of the branches altogether. Here's a native, oh, that's what that guy over there is, I think. If you look at the leaves, it is a native crabapple being choked out by comfrey. It's a native crabapple. Here's another plum. Again, plums around here seem to do very poorly. I don't know what kind of plum it is. Let's see. I have to put these guys on for rabbits. They're very helpful for rabbits. I don't see what kind of plum it is. Tag must have fallen off. I think it's pear, Comus pear. Oh, yeah, there is the remnants of the tag. So it fell off somewhere. I think it's a Comus pear. Again, here's another native crabapple. It's native to this area. Does well in wet soil. Fairly slow growing, unfortunately. I put some more lupine. I put some lupine in this area. I think the same day I planted the other stuff, and it's not going nearly as fast as the other place. Still growing though. My black locust coming out. It's growing here. Don't see any evidence of buds yet, but this guy should be loaded with flowers this year. Last year there was a branch that was loaded with flowers. This year I'm hoping for a bunch of yellow to be there. Same with this guy. This guy last year didn't make any flowers, but I'm hoping again for some better luck this year. Or some more progress this year. They're not very old. I grew them from seed. So I'm proud of that. That looks like, no, I can't tell what that is. There's another